Hi, everyone. I'm Paul with MadCap Software, and I'm here to tell you what is brand new in Flare 2022. So we've got some really exciting things for you in this release. Number one, full meta tag support. So this is metadata, and we've always had meta tags to a certain extent, but not like now. There's way more that you can do with meta tags. Number two, some big micro content enhancements, including integration with these meta tags that I'm talking about. So you've got a lot more places where you can add micro content, more control and flexibility with it. So really cool stuff. Number three, some big skin enhancements for HTML5 skins. You're going to notice when you open up the skin editor, big changes. And a lot of this was done to accommodate some micro content changes that we did. There is also some new fields that you're going to notice in PDF targets that this also has to do with metadata. It's for copyright. So some new copyright fields that you can add. And then there's some for word output. We've got some a new tab in the target editor and some metadata document properties fields. Finally, there have been some source control enhancements, and this mostly has to do with the ability to disable a provider if you want. So there's a lot to go over. I am really just going to, in this video, give you a quick overview of each one of these. And the video is broken up into chapters. And so if you want to skip ahead to any section, just hover over the play bar and you can easily go to whatever section you want. In particular, there is a lot to talk about with metadata, with meta tags and micro content, way more than I could really fit into this one video. So I actually created video series for each of these. So at the very end of this video, you're going to see playlists, one for meta tags, another for micro content. So even though I'm going to talk about it a little in this video, you're going to get way more information. You're going to see exactly how these things look and work in Flare by watching those videos. All right, so that is what I'm going to talk about in this video. We're going to get started with meta tags. All right, meta tags. So meta tags are a type of metadata. So metadata, you go into an art museum, there's a painting there and there's a placard next to it, and the placard tells you who painted it, the title, the medium, the size. It's not the art itself, it's information about the art. So it has value in that way. In the same way, you can use meta tags in your Flare projects to add value. These meta tags are going to allow you to find and identify and control the information that is in your Flare project. So why would you use it in Flare? Well, there are a few main reasons. One is search engine optimization, SEO. So it's going to help people locate things better in your search results. Another is content management. So you can manage your source files. You can put tags on things, and it kind of helps you corral the information. And then third is micro content integration, which I'll talk about in the next section when I talk about micro content. So it's going to give you more control over, what micro content to use, where, how. All right, so let's actually hop into Flare and look just a little bit at these meta tags. One of the first things that happened with meta tags is we added a new meta tag set file type. So this is here in your project organizer under the advanced tab, and you can see I've added 3 meta tag sets. You don't have to add a meta tag set. You can, or you can add just one. Many, depends on how you want to organize your information. But a meta tag set is really useful because there are lots of file levels in Flare where you can deal with meta tags, and if you set them up at the top in the meta tag set, things are just going to kind of trickle down to the others. So the types of files where you can apply meta tags, the meta tag set, of course, and then after that, there's the project level, the target level, template pages, snippets, topics, goes on down, and there's an inheritance chain, and I'll put it up here on the screen. You can see you set things at the top and the information just trickles down, and you can override it at different places along the way. In addition to these files, you can also set meta tags on images and multimedia files. So let's start with the meta tag set. All you do is right click the advanced folder, add meta tag set like you would anything else. And I've added 3 in here. I'm just going to open 1. So you can see that I have a name here, and I've already added some meta tags down here. You add a meta tag by clicking here. You can add a text meta tag, a list meta tag, or you can tap into old file tag sets that you've used. If you've created those, if you haven't used them, then you don't need to worry about it. But if you have, you can tap into those. And as you update the file tag sets, your meta tag set is going to be updated automatically. So in here, you can see I have a list meta tag. My name is authors, and it's just a list, a list of the author names. And then here's a text meta tag. This is a description meta tag. Now, there are certain meta tags that are just recognized by search engines, and description is one of the main ones. And you put the value in here. This is where you would put information about what a topic is about. And I'll come back to that here in a second. So in this case, I'm just creating these meta tags at the meta tag set level, but I'm not providing the value or setting the values. I'm just providing the ability to. And here I created just a generic one, greeting, hello, hey, hi, and I selected one of them. So you can do that. And there's connecting to a file tag set. So different kinds of meta tags that you can create. And then down lower, you go to these different file levels. For example, I'll go to a topic and I'll open up the properties for this. And you're going to see not just this meta tag set, but the others on this meta tags tab. It's just gathering all this, and it's telling me, hey, this value is taken from the meta tag set. It's inheriting it. And on the topic level, maybe I want to choose an author. This author is responsible. And here's my description. Now, I said that one of the main reasons to use meta tags is search engine optimization. So this is one of the kinds of meta tags that search engines recognize. And so it's going to actually, when you put this information in, it's going to show up in your search results. Let me show you. So here are some search results, and the meta tag data is supplying this. If you don't supply it, Flare, the search engine is just going to auto-generate probably the first content that's in the topic, but this gives you more control over it. Even though most search engines aren't factoring this into search rankings, it still allows you to present what you want to the user in your search results. And there are other meta tags for search results that are just recognized by browsers, such as robots. You can look these up. But Flare allows you to add not just this one, but others. Now, in previous versions, we did have that description meta tag. It was up here in the topic properties, and you would supply the description there. And that's what it was doing behind the scenes. It was creating this meta tag. So if you've done that in lots and lots of topics, you're not losing that information. It's just been moved here. And it will probably, you'll see it here under custom. You'll see your description meta tag. So you can come into all these different file levels and select what you want. So search engine optimization. Now, yeah, this one is just a standard meta tag that search engines recognize, but you can create your own custom ones like I did here, authors, or whatever need you have. And the second reason to use meta tags is content management, to kind of just have more control over your source files. So we've actually added here in the analysis ribbon, you're going to see some reports in here. Undefined meta tags, used meta tags. This might be one of the main ones that you use. You open this up and you're going to see it's going to find all the meta tags that you've used and the values associated with them. And there's other meta tag reports in here, duplicate meta tags, invalid meta values. So different ways that you can find your content, find your topics and information that are tied to these meta tags. You could also use the file list window pane that will show that'll show information in there, and the find and replace in files. You could use find text, look up the source code, or find elements. You could look for meta tags and their attributes under that. And I'm not going into a lot of detail here. I just want to hit the highlights and let you know this is possible, that you are associating your files with meta tags, and then you can use these different features to sort of see where things are, and just use it however you see fit. Now, there's a lot of information. It's a lot to wrap your brain around. So this is what I would suggest. I would suggest you go into the online help. Over on the left, you see tutorials, and I've got a meta tags tutorial in here, and this is going to guide you through it. So you actually are creating meta tags, and hopefully by the time you're done with this tutorial, you'll see the value of these meta tags and how they're actually used. And I also mentioned that I do have a video series, which is at the very end of this video. You see the playlist. So the meta tags tutorial and the video kind of cover the same thing, some difference, but most of the same. Whatever you want, however you want to get the information, I probably would look at one or both of those, just to see what it's all about and how it's all put together. Now, micro content enhancements. This is a big deal. So if you're not sure what micro content even is, you've seen it because you go into Google, you do a search, and you see these little rich objects everywhere. You see, videos, and you see information on the right about somebody, and there's shopping objects on there. You know what I'm talking about. So that's one example. So micro content is small content. It's just little pieces as you need it. And so field level help, you're in a part of a user interface and you need information about a field, or you're in a chat bot, there's little bits of information as you need it. Well, in Flare, one of the easiest ways to use micro content is in the search results. So you flag different parts of your content, or you just provide it in a micro content file. You search, and that stuff shows up. Now, what's different now from what we had before is you just have a lot more options in here. You've got more containers, because that's really what it is in the search results. It's a container showing this little bit of information along with the rest of your search results. Well, now you've got more containers, and you have more control over what goes into those containers. And not only can you add these into your search results, but you can also add it into your topic output as well. So the best way for me to really illustrate this is to show you my output, so that you can see what I've done with it. And then I'll go into Flare and show you just a little bit of the UI for this. So in the previous version of the help, you would do a search for something like property, and this is a piece of micro content, and it shows up just at the top, and this one is taking up all the space across the top, and then you got your search results there. Here's another example. This one right here, this is the piece of micro content, and this is more content in here because I've got a table with some, just brief bits of information, but it's taken up more space in here. And then of course the search results on the bottom. Well, this same search result for context sensitive help, this is what it looks like now in the output. So that same information you just saw that was all the way across the top is over here on the right. I just put it over here on the right. I formatted it a little bit differently, but I also have this other container. This is the featured snippets area, which is what you had just seen previously. But now I've got this other container over here called a knowledge panel. So I just have more opportunity to provide information in different ways in different places. And I could have more containers in here if I wanted to. Now, let's do another search to show something else. In this case, I've got, again, I'm using this space over here for a video. It's not like you have to use this for a video, what goes into these containers is up to you. And I just happened to decide, all right, I'm gonna use this section for a video because I noticed Google was doing that. It looks really nice. And then over on the right, I've got my set of steps and I've got an animated GIF going on. Let's look at another example. So once again, I've got information over here on the right. I search for styles. All right, that's my knowledge panel. And I just happen to have a few more videos in here. Okay, so it's not just the search results though, where I have information. I also have it in some topics. So for example, if I come over here and click learning and development, there's the regular topic content, right? But over here on the side, I have provided just some other information that might be helpful, some links to some PDFs in here, some tutorial PDFs, and more videos over here. That's just what I decided to do. Now, these things don't necessarily have to be on the right side. You could put them on the left side. These things in the topics were done through what are called proxies. So we have these new proxies in Flare, micro content proxies, 3 of them. One's called a knowledge proxy, one's called a promotion proxy, and another is called an FAQ proxy. These I happen to use an FAQ proxy for, even though they're not frequently asked questions, it just fit what I wanted to do. So these are just containers. Think of them as just containers. In fact, when we were coming up with this, trying to decide what to name these things, I said, well, why not just call them container 1, container 2, container 3, because that's all they are. And they said, that's why you don't work in marketing, Paul. And that's true. But that's all these are. So you can provide whatever information you want. Maybe you want technical specs over here on the right. Maybe you want information about an author or on the left or wherever you want it. Maybe you do want some FAQs. It's up to you. So this is one example where I have used a proxy to provide some information. Look at another. So this is a separate topic and the information over here changed because of it's this topic. So it's not like all the information is always going to be the same. In this case, opened up a topic called PDF output. Well, this just happens to be a subject area where we have some what's new stuff. This is changed in this release. And so I have this piece of micro content over here that just shows, hey, this stuff is new. All right. And then down below it, I've got more links to PDFs and videos. So I've got multiple containers going on. Let's do one more. All right. This is a topic on translation and localization. Over on the right, I've got a PDF link to a user guide. Also have this, I used a promotion proxy for this one. And as I did for the what's new in the previous example. So it's a promotion proxy and translation. We just happen to have a product called MadCap Lingo, which you can use for translation. And so this allows me to promote that, in case you don't have it, you can click and learn more. These are just some of the ways that I used these micro content enhancements. So how does this happen? Well, let's go into the Flare interface. I'm just going to show you a little bit of this. All right, so what you saw that I did in the search results, I used what I call easy features, where you can get set up and running in no time. It used to be that, okay, you've got your micro content files, and I have several of them in here containing all different kinds of information in this sample project. And it used to be that you would just generate your output and then search would bring up the best match for micro content, whatever was most appropriate. But now you have these options in the target editor. You open up the target editor, come down to search. All right. And this is for the MadCap search and Elasticsearch. Doesn't work for Google search. And you come down and there's featured snippets. That's what we've had in the past. And you can tell Flare what micro content you want to show. There's a filter here. And right now it's set don't include anything, but I could say include all my micro content files, or I could say include only specific micro content files. Right. And so I'm limiting what is in there. And then the knowledge panel, that was the thing you saw on the right. Same thing. I can use a filter and populate it accordingly. And you can see there's options in here for meta tags, which I just talked about. Okay, so you can get very specific in the kinds of information that you want to provide in these different containers. But you use these, you can be up and running in no time. You also have this limit number of results field here. So by default, it's just going to show you the best result. Okay, but I could say, show me the best 3 results. So it's very easy to accomplish this in your target editor. All right, so those are the easy options. And then there are the more advanced options, which are proxies. And the proxies, this is just for search, right? The search results, the easy options. The proxy options can be used for search. A couple of them can be used for search, or they can be used in the topic content. And that's how I did that. And a lot of times you'll put these into your template pages, which used to be called master pages. And you can see I've got my proxies in for my topic body proxy. I did this structure in here. People want to know how I did this. I did it with a responsive layout, which is another feature in Flare. You can see there's the option right there in the home ribbon. And I just put stuff in the right side and then the topic content on the left side. I could have switched it if I wanted. So I inserted these different proxies in this example. I click there, come to insert, proxy, and you can see I've got FAQ proxy, knowledge proxy, promotion proxy. I'll open up just one of these. So there's a knowledge proxy. So what you're doing is you're providing this information, the title and other things, and you've got a couple of filters in here. First of all, you're narrowing what the possible candidates are for your micro content that you're going to show. And similar options that you saw in the target editor. I can choose specific micro content files. I can choose them with meta tags. And then the second filter is a little bit different. How are we going to decide what goes in here? So these proxies are similar, but they're also a little bit unique. There are different options in each one. Let me tell you, first of all, these two filters in here, if you're looking at that and going, I wouldn't even know what to select. Look, let me give you an analogy. I hope, hopefully this is a good analogy. It's a sports analogy, but you don't have to like sports and know anything about sports to use it. Here's how I think about it. All right, so I've got all my micro content files. Now, American football, professional football, they're trying to make their team. So they've got 90 guys that they start out with, 90 guys trying to make the team, but only 53 guys end up making the team. So they cut the rest. They say, no, sorry, good try, but you didn't make it. So then they've got 53. All right, so that's what this first filter is. You're cutting down that first group and you're saying, no, none of those are even possibilities. It's just these 53 guys. Okay, so then from that 53 guys, now you go to game day. Well, you don't put all 53 guys on the field at once. That would be mayhem. Kind of fun to watch, I think, but that would be mayhem. You only have 11 guys out there at a time and different guys on different plays. How do you decide who goes in on a certain play? Well, different guys are good at different things. Some guys might be injured. It just depends. That's what the second filter is. You're saying, okay, now that I've cut things down, now I decide how do I decide if somebody opens a particular topic or if they search for a certain thing, what shows up? That is what this second field is all about. And so that is high level. You want to see in detail how this happens. Well, I'll show you here in a minute. I've got a tutorial and then videos where I walk through this, in more detail because I can't really do it all here in this video. But these three proxies are very similar. Knowledge proxy, let me go back over here. Knowledge proxy, FAQ proxy, and promotion proxy. Big difference between these is knowledge proxy and promotion proxy are what I call dynamic, which means they're sort of like that featured snippets in the knowledge panel. They're dependent on the search engine. So everything doesn't get compiled until you have the output and some action takes place. Either you do a search or you click on a topic. And then the search engine goes, oh, based on what you told me, I'm going to present this. So it's dynamic. So if your content changes over time, the results might change. All right. The FAQ proxy is different. The FAQ proxy is at build time. So it all happens beforehand. So there are pros and cons to both of these. This one, the FAQ proxy, you determine, you say, I want exactly these things. And so for that reason, the knowledge proxy and promotion proxy are also, you can put them in topics. So you can do that through the template page or directly in topics, but you can also include them in search. And you would do that through a custom search results page. The FAQ proxy is really just designed to be shown in your topic output, not in the search results. So that's why we call these advanced features, because it's more than just a couple of clicks. You need to understand a little bit what's going on, but you can see it once you grasp it. There's all kinds of things you can do with it. There's all kinds of possible use cases that you can use this for. It's really up to you. You dream it and then, try to make it happen through these options. Another important thing to bring up is micro content up until this time has just been for HTML5 output. And for the most part, it still is. But that FAQ proxy that I just talked about, because it is done at build time, you can include that in most other outputs. You could include it in a PDF if you want a list of FAQs or whatever content. That's the others, knowledge and promotion, I call dynamic. FAQ, I call static. And because it's static, you can include it in a bunch of other outputs, which is pretty cool. Now, I know it seems like a lot. You need to try to wrap your brain around this. So what I would do, a couple of things. One is in the Flare online help, go to tutorials over here on the left, and you're going to see a couple of micro content tutorials. First one is a basic one. That's just shows you how to create micro content. This advanced tutorial is the stuff I'm talking about. So you work your way through that. You're going to actually have a project and you are putting it together. You're going to see how it all works, all the benefits from it. And the other thing is video series. And like I said, this What's New video is, I just can't explain it all in this one video. So I created a video series. Go to the very end of this video, you'll see the playlist, and watch away and see how it all works, how it's all put together. Up next, big skin enhancements. You're going to like this stuff. So the skin editor, and I'm talking about the HTML5 skin editor, you're going to see some major changes in that. Now, a lot of that, it actually started out because of the micro content changes that we're making. And while those were being made, they just went ahead and revamped the skin editor. So let's take a look. Got a skin open here in the HTML5 skin editor. So on the setup tab, things that you're going to notice that are different down here, these things go along with the micro content features I talked about in the previous section. So featured snippets, knowledge panel, and then the three advanced things through proxies: FAQ proxy, knowledge proxy, promotion proxy. Now, each one of these has a default view mode. So truncated is what you were used to in the past with featured snippets, where it showed some of it, and then once it hit a certain height, then it showed a drop-down arrow where you could click and expand or collapse to see more of that. So that's truncated. And then plain text is just everything. It's just going to show everything. And then drop down, it'll put things in a drop down. So featured snippets, because those are typically at the very top of the search results, the default mode is truncated, but you can switch to one of the others. Knowledge panel, same thing. You can select any of these for any of these view modes. So knowledge panel is plain text. And then FAQs, a lot of people, if they use it for an FAQ, by the way, don't get hung up on the names of these things. FAQ proxy, just because it's FAQs doesn't mean you have to use it for FAQs. But if you do use, they're just named that because of the characteristics of these things. That's what we think people might use it for the most. So FAQ is a drop down by default, knowledge proxy and the promotion proxy plain text. Okay, so I have to correct myself here real quickly. The projects I've just been showing you, I actually made some changes and switched these around. So this is actually the default settings for each of these. You can see both of these are truncated. FAQ proxy, drop down, knowledge proxy, truncated, promotion proxy, plain text. But either way, you can make any of the changes that you want. You can switch these if you want. You have that freedom. Just had to get that on the record. Big changes that you're going to notice, though, are on the Styles tab. So you come over here, and right away, you're going to notice you don't have this seemingly endless list, this grid of things. It's a lot less in here because it's all been kind of grouped into these categories. So you can just start going down and in this tree view and looking for things. But what I really like is this filter. So because there's lots of things going on here, so you want to use the new promotion proxy and you're not sure where that stuff is set, you just start typing in there and it goes right to it. So you don't have to go hunting. All right, and then you can expand that and see what the items are. And by the way, these new things, the promotion proxy, and you can clear the filter like that. If I wanted to go to, let's say, the knowledge panel in here, you're going to notice that the this thing has changed also. The dynamic preview in here, this is the knowledge panel. I have it set to show up on the left currently. I think that's why you see it over there. But I can come in here and say, yeah, show it on the right, which is the default. And so the preview, this is the featured snippets. Come over here. Here's the knowledge panel. All right, so it's part of the preview. So that's really, really nice. So the filter is very cool. We've always had this highlight thing, which also lets you, click in the preview and then it highlights what's over here. That's really nice. But the filter just adds this extra element of ease to it. Another thing you're going to notice in here is you can change the position to vertical, go between vertical and horizontal. So if you want to see the properties over on the right, you can do that. Or if you just want to see them on the bottom, you can do that. So the styles or nodes are up here, and then the properties are down below or to the right if you want to switch that. Another thing you're going to notice in here is a new print medium. And so what this is for is somebody generates and views HTML5 output on a browser, and somebody wants to print that page. Well, the print medium will let you control things, how it looks when you print it out. So it's going to inherit the values from the web medium like the tablet and mobile do, but you can override things in the print medium if you want. There are also a few new skin components. You come over here on the right and select Add Skin, and you're going to see the normal list of everything in here, but you got these 3 new micro content skin components in here. And so these are just light versions of the main skin, just like other components are, but they're set up by default to show the properties for the FAQ skin, which would go along with the FAQ proxy, the knowledge skin, which goes with the knowledge proxy, and the promotion skin component, which goes with the promotion proxy. And so you can add those. You don't have to. You could set all of that stuff, your proxies, here in the main skin if you want, but you would add these other skin components like the other skin components we have if you just have multiple proxies and you want different looks for different ones. So add a skin component. So those are new as well. And finally, I want to point out that this new skin component, which is the FAQ skin component, as I mentioned in the previous section of this video, the FAQ proxy is static. And for that reason, it can be used in all these different outputs. So you build PDF output. Well, that content will show up in your PDF, but how do you control the look of it? So you would do that in your FAQ. You would need to create an FAQ skin component if you're creating one of these other outputs. And then let me just add a target, a PDF target in here. And you will see that these other output formats have a new skin tab. So on the surface, it doesn't really make sense for a PDF target to have a skin tab because skin is for online, but this is an exception. So you can select the skin component here. Now, you don't have to, because when you are inserting these proxies, let me go in here. I already have the FAQ one inserted here. It's the same with all of these different proxy types. They can all be associated with their skins, and you can associate it here. So just connecting that proxy, that container, with that skin component to give it its unique look. And that is a quick look at the skin enhancements in this version of Flare. Okay, the next new thing to talk about in this version of Flare is copyright metadata for PDF output. So I've already talked about metadata with meta tags earlier, but there's also some new options in PDF targets that you might want to know about. Got a PDF target open here. Now you come down to PDF options, scroll down, and you're going to notice this new section in here on copyright. So you can provide information in these fields. You can select unknown, copyrighted, or public domain. And then you can put your copyright notice in here, copyright whatever, my company. You can insert, select a variable. If you want to do that, put your, for more information, here's information about our copyright, put that in there, and you build the PDF, and this information will be connected. It'll just travel with that PDF. Now, here's the one caveat to that is viewing it, you have to be using Adobe Acrobat Pro in order to see this information. If you're not doing that, you're not going to see these fields. But these are new metadata fields for PDF copyright if you want to use them. In addition to those new metadata fields for PDF, we have something for Microsoft Word outputs as well. I got a Word target open here, and you just come down to MS Word options, and this is a brand new tab. You can see all these new document properties, and so these are similar to what you have in the PDF target, where you can provide all different kinds of metadata information about the Word document. And so it's just part of that Word document. You can see them when you open that up. In addition, you will notice these options down here. These are options that we've already had in Flare. They just used to be on the Advanced tab. Now they're here on this new MS Word Options tab. So the last thing I want to talk about that we've added in this version of Flare are some source control enhancements. And this is really for people who are binding to source control outside of Flare, working outside of Flare, and you want the ability to disable the provider. In other words, you've got the source control ribbon in Flare, you have the source control explorer, and maybe you just don't even want to see that. You don't want people using that. So you can disable the provider in your projects. And the other thing that you can do is create an ignore file and edit it within Flare, because if you're binding outside, if you bind using the Flare interface, it's just going to be created for you. But if you bind outside, you might not have it, and you need to be able to, add it and edit it. So you can do that as well. So this particular project is bound to Git. All right. And so I can go and open up my Source Control Explorer, and on the settings view, you can see there's all the information, and I got this enabled checkbox. And the same thing can be found if you go to the project properties here, and you're going to see it here, the enabled checkbox on the source control tab. And so I could just click this, and you can see the source control ribbon's already gone. So if you don't want to see it, you can click that. I'm going to select it again, click OK. And that is going to do it per project. All right. But maybe you've got a setup where you've got a folder and you've got one repository and lots of projects in there, and you don't want to have to go into each project and disable the provider. You just want to, you just want to do it one time. Well, if you're bound to Git, you can do that in the options dialog. You come in here to bind detection. By default, Git is going to be enabled, so it's going to recognize your connection. It's going to recognize that binding. And so, and there isn't any harm in that. Flare's not doing anything unless you tell it to. But if you just don't want to remove that, that bind detection, by doing this, it will also disable the provider. So you just won't see the source control ribbon, source control explorer, and so on. So that is another way to do it. So the other thing I want to show you is in that source control explorer. If you go to settings and you scroll down, you're going to see I have a get ignore file in my project already, this little sample project. So it says edit ignore file. If you don't have one, it'll say create ignore file. You click that, creates it, you edit it, you're good. So those are the source control enhancements. Okay, so that's what we have for you in Flare 2022. We're really excited about all of these things. And as I mentioned before, the meta tags and micro content features, there's a whole lot more to say about them. So just keep going to the very end of this video and you can check out the playlist for each one of those, learn all about them. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to Flare 2022. We'll talk to you next time.